Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Superwomen Wellness Connection channel. My name is Kim Goeltom and I'm a certified master wellness coach, and I'm excited to be bringing to you incredible, dynamic superwomen who have wonderful wellness to share with you based on what they're doing. And today I have a very special guest, and her name is Brana Mijatovic.
Hi, and thank you for having me. It's so fun to finally be here. Remember how long we've been planning this?
Yes, absolutely. I know, and I'm just so grateful to have you here. And for those of you who have never met Brana virtually or in person, and I'm going to let her share all the amazing things that she does, but just to kind of give you a little snapshot, she is this incredible woman who specializes in energy healing and so many different layers and modalities of energy healing, ones I didn't even know existed, such as Tesla, and I'll let her tell you more about all that. But then she also is an astrologer. She has a PhD. She specializes in meditation, crystals, and a zillion other things. And so I'm just so excited, Brana, to have you here and to have you share, a little bit about your background and some wisdom for superwomen who are watching today.
Hello, everyone, and I'm happy to be here, as I said. And one of the things that we can maybe start with before I even say things about myself, maybe we can start with a little bit of meditation, kind of to ground our energy, and then for everybody to join us, if it is safe for you to do so, if you're not driving, if you're not in the middle of something and you're not cooking. So if you can safely close your eyes and just have a moment to kind of center yourself. So if you just want to close your eyes, and then if you're seated, feel the ground beneath your feet. And then just notice all those points of contact where the feet touch the ground. And then imagine that from your feet, there is a beautiful energetic or energy channel going all the way to the center of the earth. And from the center of the earth, there is this beautiful, strong energy of all the crystals and minerals that are supportive of a human body coming towards you and connecting with your body through the soles of your feet and energizing and grounding your whole body. And then when you feel all of that beautiful energy circulating through your whole body, you can slowly and gently open your eyes.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. I love that. So I'd love for you to share with everyone a little bit about your background and what exactly it is you do.
Yes, so it's always hard to know where to begin. And I will begin with the meditation because that's what we started with. So officially, I started meditating when I was 20 years old, when a friend introduced me to the Bihar School of Yoga, a teacher who was from Belgrade, who has attended the ashram classes in ashram in Bihar in India. And he has brought back something called Yoga Nidra. And today, when you say Yoga Nidra, even in Williamsburg, it is so much more known than just 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, because I remember going from studio to studio here to find somebody who does that, and people were just looking at me strangely. And I'm not saying, if somebody says, oh, well, I was doing it, I apologize. That means that it just didn't come across you. But I have spoken to a lot of yoga teachers, and it was fairly unknown. Today, because of YouTube, most people do know what Yoga Nidra is, people who are into meditation at least. And for me, it was one of the most valuable things when it comes to wellness. And when I started doing meditation classes or holding meditation classes, that is the thing that I had focused on, even though there are so many other styles of meditation. But this also brings a deeper sense of an awareness of your body, which I think in today's world is really, really missing. And this is just one aspect as to what Yoga Nidra does. Because it was so unknown, I didn't call it Yoga Nidra when we were doing it, because I didn't want people to have a sense that they will actually have to do poses, or they would have to have certain kind of a body or to be in shape to do that. With Yoga Nidra, you're just lying on your back and listening to the voice that is guiding you through a very, very precise sequence of relaxing your body. But it is much more than relaxing your body, because it is a very deep process that is a healing process, it's a cleansing process, and it also is a very important for the development of consciousness, for a greater sense of peace, but also it does so many other things.
Yeah.
Now, that is just one aspect of, when we think of meditation, that is my first thing that I would always recommend, is the first thing. But it takes about 30 minutes, and you do have to be able to lie down, and it is also good if there are no outside distractions. So as you can imagine, it is best to be done either before bed or when you are in a specific place. Now, because I like a lot of different things, and I like things to work, and I like people to be able to do things that are useful, right?
Right.
I also started teaching different types of meditations, and many of them people can do on their own. So if you want to try some of the meditations and see how it feels to you and what it actually means to meditate, it can mean so many different things. But the whole point is, for the purpose of our talk, I want to talk about how to de-stress. We have so many things going on in this world.
Oh my gosh,
it is so hard to really just even keep up with things you have to do, let alone find the time, right, to actually schedule to relax.
Yeah.
And this is why I want to focus today also on talking about what can people do really quickly. I will talk about 3 things that people can do really quickly to recenter themselves, to get in touch with their own self and with their own body, which is sometimes really put on the back burner. So we think if we feed our body and if, we exercise, some people can't even exercise, but typically people think that that's enough. That's what it means, taking care of yourself.
Right.
But actually connecting with your body in the sense of, okay, what's going on with my body right now?
Yeah.
What does my body want right now? And then honoring that is a huge, huge thing that people are just becoming aware of, and just becoming aware of how much it can help when we do that.
Yeah.
Right? So one thing that you can also do so this was one easy thing that anybody can do, less than 30 seconds, right? To just connect with that ground beneath your feet. And it's not just a moment that you can think of, okay, this is just the moment where I'm going to meditate. It's not just about that. It is about bringing your attention to the present moment, which is the only moment where we actually are alive, right? We are alive in the past, we're alive in the future in a different way.
Yeah.
But where we are present, that's just this present moment. And so to be aware of this present moment opens up so much for us, opens up a huge amount of potential. And the other thing that I also have posted as a brief video on my resources page on my website, and my website is justmyname.com, is something that, once again, anybody can do at any time, and you can just place one hand at the center of your chest, and we can do that together now as well.
Sure.
And the other hand at the forehead.
Okay.
And then close your eyes. And at first, just feel what's going on in your body. And for a lot of people, immediately just doing this is going to bring them into their body, which means to calm them down and to bring relaxation. And then the next thing that you can do is you can connect also by just thinking about it to your feet in the way that we have just done a moment ago. And so you have 3 points of awareness right now where you're placing your awareness. And then you can imagine that the breath that you're breathing in is going through your nose, into your lungs, and then it goes all the way down to your feet. And then a part of that breath, or on the second breath, you can imagine that the breath goes all the way up to your forehead. And then you can imagine that as you breathe in, you breathe through the center of your heart. And that the breath goes through the whole body. And then you can just place your hands in your lap and gently open your eyes. How does that feel to you?
Feels great. Feels great. And I love how these are just very simple, easy.
Super simple.
I mean, how long did that even take? That was less than 45 seconds, maybe?
Exactly.
So someone can easily do this, you know, in a parking lot, in their car, in between,
Yes.
you know, let's say they had a scenario inside the grocery store, you know,
Yes.
whatever the case may be, you know,
Yeah.
you could be at work, you could just use this in so many different scenarios. I mean, 45 seconds. That's
Exactly. And you really don't need any guidance for that. If you want guidance, as I said, I have a free video on the resource page just to feel that somebody is helping you. Other than that, you really can do this by yourself. You can't do it wrong. It's your body. You know how to breathe, right? And everything
right.
else is up to you, like how you're going to. Right. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, and there are also different types of breathing. There is a whole set of pranayama exercises, once again, coming from yoga. And I'm not going to go into that. But there is so much that people can do today. And yet maybe because there is so much, people don't know where to start or what would be the best for them. And so in this talk, you know, I really wanted to offer something that takes a little more time, such as the Yoga Nidra. And also I want to say that if you do want to experience Yoga Nidra, I do have it on my website under the recording meditations. So there'll be an MP3 under the meditations. And this free resource that I just talked about with this type of meditation, that is under the free resources. So you can try both of them, see what works for you, and then just I'll leave it there. Otherwise I can
no, but that's great. That's really great, because sometimes we can be grounded enough independently on our own to be able to do that exercise. But then sometimes things are swirling all around, and it's nice to have that third party option. And so having that, you know, MP3 resource that you've created can be really powerful when the brain is
And one important thing that I want to say about Yoga Nidra, because it's so popular and everybody wants to do it, a lot of time people actually, you know, you will find it on YouTube recorded with music. If you do find it with music and you enjoy it, you know, that's up to you. But traditionally, it is not done with music for a very, very particular reason, because one of the important things for the purpose of that meditation as it was created was to do something to your nervous system, which means to create a sense of calmness that you by yourself very rarely can go to. And for that to happen, the nervous system has to be fully engaged with the body, not with the outside, processing outside stimuli. And as beautiful as music is, it adds another something for the nervous system to process.
Right.
And so that creates a different result than Yoga Nidra. So once again, do what you feel really helps you, but also understand that you can achieve something very different if you listen to Yoga Nidra with just the words of the person who is guiding you and a complete silence. And then to go back to what you said, you know, about receiving, so many times, so even though I can do all of these things myself, and then also for myself, I absolutely love to receive.
Yeah.
So I would go to energy healers. I would go to the people who hold yoga nidra classes. I would go to places where I can just receive, because there is a different dynamic when your mind is doing something and you are active in that process, and when you're just receiving.
Yeah.
A very big difference. So I just want people to understand that, because a lot of times, especially people who are healers, people who do consider themselves spiritual, people who do understand this world, they feel that because they know a certain modality, that now they have to do everything themselves for themselves.
Right.
And there are parts of ourselves that we can't even reach, because they're deep within our subconscious, and we need somebody else to help us. If we are clearing some deep issue, if we are working on something that is something that we want to clear, that we have tried a lot of times. So I just wanted to also put that out there.
Yes, absolutely. And a perfect example that just popped in my head. I went and had a massage yesterday, and I don't get massages very often. It's probably the first time since June of last year.
Oh, wow.
So it was a while, and I had a lot of knots, and it was a 90-minute massage, and I mean, it wiped me out the rest of the day. I was just like, oh. But even this morning when I woke up, I was like, oh dear, my body felt like I had like a punching bag workout or something, but my body feels 1,000 times better. And even though I could do, and I am not a massage expert by any means, but like you were saying, I could do little hand movements or gestures or, things for deep relaxation, but to have that person who is trained and really has a different perspective and able to reach different areas that I can't reach.
Yeah.
Huge.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah.
Powerful.
Exactly. And I want to actually give people something else they can do when it comes to the moment where they feel like they're just too stressed, they don't even want to do the meditation themselves. Here is what you can do. You can actually connect with the energy of a crystal, and the one that I'm holding is smoky quartz.
Wow, it's beautiful.
And you don't have to have a big one. The only reason I'm showing you a big one is because it's easier to see on camera. You can have a tiny, tiny one. It's going to still work for you. So smoky quartz is the perfect crystal when you come home, you're exhausted, you don't even want to think about anything, but you just need to relax. Then I would recommend holding smoky quartz for a few minutes, and then just notice how your energy just starts to calm down, how if you have experienced negativity, how the negativity starts to flow out of you. And after a few minutes, you will be able to do something for yourself. So that would be for those days when you're so exhausted, you don't know what to do. You just know that you don't want anybody to come close to you, but you still have obligations. And so it's not going to be like that, right?
Right.
Just something very, very quick, smoky quartz. Whenever you feel that there are some thoughts that you really want to clear from your energy, they're not good for you. So that would be this beauty here.
Oh, beautiful. Amethyst.
And I know, yes. So for instance, for healers, this is really great practice. You can actually, if you feel that you're working with your hands a lot, or if your hands get hot between clients, you can just do this. And amethyst is very powerful for clearing anything from your biofield that doesn't belong. But I also like when they touch my hand. So you can certainly do it this way as well. But when you touch your hand, you'll get a little bit more.
Nice.
Yeah. So as I said, there are so many things we can do. And then one thing that I also wanted to make sure to mention is super simple. And you can do it at any point. But they're called morning pages. And so maybe some of you have heard of it. If you have ever heard of the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. So that came out many, many years ago. And I have done it a lot of times exactly as she says. So I'm going to tell you what she says, and then you can adapt it however you want. And of course, you can do it not only in the morning, but also at any other point in the day. The reason why this is useful, the reason why writing is useful, is you get those thoughts out of your head and onto the paper.
Yeah.
The moment they're on paper, they're out of your head, you have released them, you feel psychologically that you don't have to think about that because they are right there. If you need them, you can come back to them. But if you feel that you have processed them, you can just tear it up when you're done. And then you need to write 3 pages without stopping. So the key is to do something that other people also talk about as automatic writing. And the purpose of that is that you don't stop yourself, that you don't correct. So let's say you keep writing and you say something and you want to say another word. Don't interrupt your thoughts. Don't correct yourself. Because the more flowing the process is, the better. Yeah. So what happens usually? So you start, and if you're new to this, it's going to look like this. Very likely, it's going to look like this. Oh, what should I do now? I don't know what to write. This is really just, I don't know. Well, it's just, I don't even know what to say. So you keep doing that, but don't stop. And as you keep doing that, at some point you will notice that something starts to come. And the first thing usually that comes is something that has been on your mind that you have not processed. So you just write about that. Yeah, so my neighbor was really loud last night. I thought of going up there and complaining, but then I didn't. And why didn't I? And what will I do? And then after that, some kind of a solution starts to emerge. And by the end of the 3rd page, usually you get that solution. But if you don't, nobody's stopping you from stopping at the 3rd page. You can continue. The key is the more you do that, the more you clear your mind from the things that otherwise are there, just a clutter that is not useful. So that's number 1, you clear your clutter. Number 2, I've had amazing breakthroughs happen in that process when I was doing it regularly. Now I do it just from time to time. But it all started, the biggest breakthroughs I've had was when I really didn't want to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it because I said I'm going to do it, but I really don't think this is valuable at all. Why is it not coming? And all of that. Right. So if you can understand that that is actually a part of the process, then you can get amazing results with this. Yeah. And so this is why I'm so excited about it, because it's so funny, you know? Yeah. And it's also funny to observe yourself, like your resistance. You're like, oh, I don't want to do it. And why is it useful? But it's not, you know. So all of that. Yeah. And then in the end, you actually see how useful it is. Yeah. And so now whenever I have an issue, I like to write about that because it's just the fastest way to get it out. Then you don't need anything. And then you see if there is more to process, you can always go to a therapist. Right? This is not a replace. None of what I'm talking about is a replacement for anything. For sure. But it's something that can help you in the moment, right? When you don't have that therapist, when you don't have somebody who's going to guide you through meditation, right? You don't have the half an hour. So all of these things I'm saying should be one of the things that you can do when nothing else is available. Right. But you are always available. Yes. Right? So if we remember that, then we have everything. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, talk about empowerment to a new level. All right. So we talked about meditation and different types of meditation. We talked about writing as a different way to deal with stress. So the meditation is the first level of dealing with stress. Writing is a different way of dealing with stress. Crystals is a third way of dealing with stress. And so now I want to talk briefly about how astrology can help us also deal with stress, but in a different way, in a deeper way in some ways, and then also in a more long-term way. So one thing, even if you don't know anything about astrology, it will be good to start learning because it can help you. And one easy way to do that, I used to have daily posts. So if you go back to when I first started on Facebook, which was 2016, I was posting every single day. Now it's a little bit sprinkled here and there because I have so many other things that I'm doing. But I still do post about important things. So if you go on Facebook and see what I post for a day, and so I usually look at the whole chart of the sky, and then I select very specific aspects that most people are very likely to be impacted by. Yeah. And then I write about them. And so you read that and you say, okay, so she said it is very likely that people in general are going to be irritable today because the effects of these planets are such that their frequencies are not connecting well, and it just is like poking our energy, and then everybody or most people are on edge, right?
Yeah.
So you go into your day knowing that a lot of people may be experiencing that. You may also feel that, right? But if you go with that in mind, then you can say, okay, so she said that that's what's happening. Look, that is what is happening. So I'm going to be a little more compassionate, both towards myself and towards these people, because these influences are very, very strong, very harsh, and those people very likely might be behaving differently if they were less stressed, if they did not go through a lot of things, of which astrology is just one part.
Yeah.
And then the next day I post, it is a day where there are lots of positive influences. Usually under the first post, under the previous post, I have tons of comments. Yes, I felt it. Yes, I felt it. Yeah, this is exactly my experience. When I post about a beautiful day, nobody comments because nobody reads, because everybody's having a great time.
Everybody's out having that beautiful day.
Beautiful day outside. Who wants to read Facebook and astrology? I don't care about astrology at this point, right? And this is why, as I said, astrology can be useful in just a very small way, right?
Yeah.
When you're having a bad day, it's not always only you. And of course, there are many other influences, not just astrology, but a lot of times astrology is a contributing factor. So psychologically, it can really help. People tell me they view themselves differently. They go through their day differently when they follow what I write. So that is one way to think about that. Another way that I have recently started doing it at the beginning of this year, I started making monthly astrological and crystal guides so that people know ahead of time what's going to happen. So once again, it is a general guide, but it does affect a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if you know that, for instance, we just had it recently, the square between Mars and Neptune, and that influence is a lot of times experienced as a feeling that, everything you have hoped for is actually not going to happen. And so just feeling down, if we were just to use one word, right?
Yeah.
But there is a lot more to this aspect. I just don't want to go into too much detail. So that day comes, or that day starts approaching, and as the aspect is getting stronger and stronger, people are starting to feel that. And I've actually had several people text me and say, oh my God, I'm feeling this aspect so strongly, exactly as you wrote about it. And then there are some people who had forgotten about it, and they're like, why am I feeling this way? And then they go back and read, and it's like, oh, okay. The point of that is that if you have that ahead of time, you're not going to plan something important on that day, because your energy is not going to be up there to do that task, which you can do at some other time very, very successfully with lots of energy, lots of strength, lots of enthusiasm. But because the aspects are the way they are, they affect us in a certain way, you're not at your best.
Yeah.
Right? And so that guide gives you the exact dates when something is happening, so that you can schedule your best days for whatever you're dealing with, whatever you need to plan, right?
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. I love it. And I've been getting your monthly crystal astrology videos, and those have been incredibly impactful. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm so glad you have that experience, so people can hear from you, not just from me. Because, it's one thing that I say that, but it's another thing that somebody who has actually gotten it and has had that experience to say that. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And so the very last thing that I'm going to say, so this was about astrology in general and astrological aspects, as they are very likely to influence a lot of people. And they're called transits, for those who are not familiar with astrology. But there is another thing that we as astrologers also do, and that is reading a person's natal chart, which is a snapshot of the sky in the moment that the person was born, which shows us exactly where the planets were. And based on the configuration of those planets in the signs and in the houses and how they relate to each other, we can get a complete picture of the person or the energetic imprint that the person has received at the moment of their birth.
Wow.
And so why is this significant, and why am I talking about this when we are talking in general about stress and relaxation? Because knowing all those details from your birth chart, or having an astrological interpretation that tells you about certain things that you have always experienced but maybe did not have the words to express your experience, when you hear those words from somebody who doesn't know you, who doesn't know anything about your life, it is so life affirming. It is so helpful. Mostly my clients start crying at some point in the reading out of sheer relief that somebody can finally see them.
Yeah.
And see what's going on inside of them. And then on top of that, there is always a solution. There is always a solution in the astrology chart. And so one part is, these are the beautiful qualities that you have. These are your strengths. This is where you need to pay more attention and bring out all those strengths. And these are your obstacles over here. And this is how to overcome those obstacles. All of that is in the chart.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I also give the recommendation for the specific crystals that can help for all of these issues. So the person can really maximize not only the reading, but their own energy, and then come out of that reading a different person. Somebody who now is much more empowered, knowing, because it was confirmed by a stranger, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing what the gifts are, what the potential obstacles are, and then what you can do to enhance the gifts and minimize the obstacles. And that provides such a sense of relief that I have clients emailing me a year, 2 years, 3 years later, saying they still go back and listen to the recording. We make a recording during the session, and they're still getting so much out of it. Yeah. So this would be the level of relaxation that goes, to the level of the soul.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Just having that extra, affirmation or confirmation as to why a person's experiencing what a person is experiencing is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So we talked today then about relaxing the body and getting so much more out of the meditation, but I focused specifically on relaxing the body. We talked about relaxing the mind through the process of writing, and so this third element would be relaxing the spirit or the soul, however you want to think about it. And if anyone wants more information, they can just find me, let me know, ask a question, and I'll be happy to connect and answer.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And for everybody watching, we are going to have Brana's bio in the description below, as well as all of her social media links so that you can connect with her. So Brana, thank you so much for being here and for sharing so much wisdom and easy tips that people can implement in less than 45 seconds, which is fantastic in such a zooming, high-paced world. That's what we need, or 45-second chunks of
yeah.
So thank you so much for that. And I appreciate your time and for being here today. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.